Hi guys, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I'm sorry there wasn't a read aloud. I actually went back home to see my mom because it was Mother's Day, so I spent a lot of time with my family this weekend, and I forgot to bring the book with me because we don't, they live 2 hours away from me, and I forgot the book. Oopsie. I meant to bring it so me and my mom could do a read aloud, but you know how my brain works. Sometimes it just doesn't. So we're gonna go ahead and read chapter 29. But let me know in the comments what you guys did this weekend. I had a lot of fun with my family, playing games, hanging out, eating so much food. So let me know what you guys were up to. And we're gonna go ahead and read chapter 29. This one's called Fish in a Tree, so maybe we'll figure out why the book's called Fish in a Tree. If you remember, we ended last chapter with Mr. Daniels asked Allie if she wanted to play chess. And he was like, if you stay after school and play chess, you won't have to do any homework. So, let's see. Chapter 29, Fish in a Tree. Albert and Keisha and I get off the bus for our class trip to the Noah Webster house with no written work today. I'm thinking it will be a silver dollar day. Albert starts collecting acorns from the ground and filling his pockets. I'm tempted to ask why, but I'm afraid of the answer. Oliver picks up acorns and whips them at trees. Max joins in. Max hits a tree every time. Oliver, not so much. Mr. Daniels walks over and says something to make them stop. I pick up an acorn too, and it reminds me of a little Frenchman with a pointed chin, perfectly shaped head, and a little beret. I named him Perry and stick him in my pocket. I decide that I'll do a drawing of him later, maybe dancing with a lady at the Eiffel Tower. My grandpa always said he was going to take me to see it. Albert's pockets are bulging by the time we line up to go inside. Shay is rolling her eyes at him and laughing. When Mr. Daniels looks at her direction, she stops like she has an on and off switch. When he looks away, she laughs at Albert again. Don't laugh at him, I say. Fine, she says. I'll laugh at you. I don't care if you laugh at me. Albert just stands there looking a little lost. Albert, I whisper, why won't you tell them to go jump in a lake or to leave you alone? Albert, Keisha talks to him in her you better listen to me voice, hunched over and silent as no way to meet the world. Albert bends over and picks up more acorns. He looks up at us. It isn't logical, he says. It will only let them know that it bothers me. He stands up straight. Well, no one likes to be insulted. But let's say that my worry about Shay is to drop off into the middle of the ocean. What's that? I ask. These acorns, he said, holding one up. This green coloring on the side looks like moss, but I am concerned that it is actually fungus. If that is the case, all of these trees may be in danger. I have collected samples and you will do further research. I lean in and look at the acorn. I like how Albert cares and is able to see that other people wouldn't. But I wish Albert would care about himself as much as the scientific world. Mr. Daniels puts us into groups, and I pray that I end up in his group or with Keisha or Albert. I get part of my wish, and I'm in a group with Albert. Mr. Daniels is with a bunch of boys, including Oliver and Max. We get the drill about behaving, things being old, and how we're not supposed to touch them. We break into our groups and head upstairs into the bedroom. So, our guide says, straightening her bonnet, does anyone know where the term sleep tight comes from? Albert raises his hand and she calls on him with a smile. Albert points to the underside of the mattress. Mattresses were held up with rope so they were off the floor and away from the bugs. When the mattresses would sag, they tightened the ropes, making the bed more comfortable. Hence the saying, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Well, if anyone would know anything about bed bugs, he would, Shay whispers. Downstairs in the kitchen, the fireplace is big enough to stand in. The lady tells us that the girls didn't go to school as much as the boys, and that they typically stayed home to learn how to take care of the home. My mind bites into that, and I can't stop thinking about it. No more school, ever. I lean over. Albert, do you think time travel is possible? He whispers. Albert Einstein had an extensive theory on possibilities, and I certainly wouldn't argue with him. Me either, I say to him. How do you think I would look in one of those dresses and bonnets? He looks puzzled. Finally, we go to a colonial schoolroom and join the rest of our class. A lady talks about what a visionary Noah Webster was to create the first American spellers and dictionaries. Before that, people used to just make up spellings. There were no right or wrong ways to spell. Some visionaries, this spelling stuff is all his fault. Since he's the only one that got it in his head that we needed to all spell the same way. Me thinking Noah Webster was a scoundrel and they should just put him in jail for this. The lady tells us it took him 20 years to write the dictionary. He also wrote the first school books and grammar books. I think he must have tipped off his rocker, as my grandma used to say. Students in the colonial times didn't use paper and pencils like you could do now. The lady holds up a little chalkboard with a wooden frame. They used slates like this and wrote their answers down to show their teacher. She passes out the slates, which are fun to write with. I draw a picture of Perry and his beret, and I wish I had some green chalk to add just a little smudge in honor of Albert. The woman takes out a pointed white hat. Now, this is something teachers began to use in schools towards the end of Noah Webster's life. It's called a dunce cap. As a punishment for misbehavior, a child would have to wear it and stand in the corner facing the wall. I hear giggling. Shay is showing her slate to a bunch of other kids. There's a hand wearing a dunce hat and Allie is written underneath. What's the fuss about? The guide asks and she walks over. Then she turns it to him. That isn't very nice. Erase that, please. I stand, willing the tears that come into my eyes to stop, knowing they will only give everyone something more to make fun of. Are you all right? The guide asks me. Everyone is quiet now, and they're all watching me. It's worse than the laughing, so I run out of the room and out of the museum. A woman calls to me, but I just keep going, out of the door and around the back, across the lawn of a beautiful light greenhouse and a swing set, which reminds me of my grandpa and how we spent hours at them at the park. I try to think about what he'd say now, and I'm sad to remember his voice. My hands slide down the chains as I sit on the seat, thinking of when I was little, when my world wasn't such a heavy place. I used to love to swing as high as I could, leaning back, reaching for a bright blue sky with my feet. And it made me feel like I could do anything, reach for anything. I lean my cheek against the cool chain, feeling like I can't reach anything anymore. Then the tears come. And then, standing in front of me are feet, shoes that belong to Mr. Daniels. He stands for a while without saying anything, and he finally says my name. All I can do is respond with a sniff. Can you tell me what happened in there? I don't know what to say. It's such a small question, but a giant answer. Please leave me alone. He takes a couple steps away and stays quiet for a bit. And then he says, my brother and I used to love to write in the sand on the beach when my family would go to Maine. I don't answer. And then he picks up a stick and writes something in the dirt on the swing next to me. More words. Why can't I ever get away from words? He turns toward me and I stare at his knees. Allie, holding out the stick, do you want to write something? I shake my head, thinking of flying on the swing through the bright blue sky and away from words like dumb, freak, and loser. He squats down in front of me. I'm sorry about whatever it was that upset you. Please let me help you. I take a deep breath, and when I let it all out, the words come with it. Nobody is ever gonna help me. Not ever. They all said I should have a dunce cap, and they're right. That's the thing. They're all right. Oh my. Allie, you don't actually believe that, do you? And I can hear that he's so shocked. I look up at him. Why wouldn't I? Because you are certainly not dumb. You're just saying that. No, I'm not actually. For one, you're amazing on those bus driver math problems. You're one of the only kids that gets the really hard ones correct. And I look up into his face with a bright sun behind him and I blurt out, but how come I can't read? And it's like the first time I've ever asked that question out loud. I guess because I'm so desperate for an answer. Aw, Allie, he says. this thing that makes school hard for you, I think you might have something called dyslexia. And it means that it's hard for you to read. It doesn't mean you're dumb. He laughs a little. In fact, Allie Nickerson, you're far from it. Your brain just figures things out differently than other people. I'm different. He's got that right, but no way I'm smart like he says. You don't understand. Yeah, Allie, I think I do. And he leans in. And you know what? You're brave. I so want to be brave, but I'm not. Coming to school every day, knowing what you're in for, knowing school will be that hard and that other kids are going to razz you, and you still come in every day and decide that you're going to try again. I stay quiet, just thinking about what he said, hoping he knows what he's talking about. And you know something else? In some ways, you're a lot smarter than other kids. You can also do things they can't. For one, you're an amazing artist. Those drawings of yours, wow, Allie, you've got talent there. What do you think about that? I think it's like saying, I'm sorry you're gonna die, but at least people are gonna bring you flowers. He laughs really hard now. See that, Allie? Seriously, only smart people say things like that. It's okay, kiddo. I have never hoped for something as much as this. You and I are gonna figure this out together. And as a matter of fact, I already spoke to Miss Silver and Miss Kessler, and reading consultant at the school. I was already planning to call your mom and talk to you tomorrow. We're gonna give you some tests. I deflate. Oh no, please no tests. No, they're not the tests you're used to. You'll see. These are more like puzzles and games rather than tests. The results will help us. I feel like I can look up for the first time. You are smart, Allie, and you're gonna learn how to read. A chill runs through my whole body. I don't have any choice but to believe him because I can't go another day thinking things will be like this forever. I wipe the tears from my face with the back of my hand. He stands up and we start walking back together. Mr. Daniels looks up at that bright blue sky and says, "Now, don't be so hard on yourself, okay? You know a wise person once said, everyone is smart in different ways, but if you judge a fish on how its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life thinking it's stupid." I think really hard about it. Could it be that simple? A mind movie flickers in my brain of an angry fish at the bottom of the tree, banging on the trunk with its fins and complaining that it can't climb it. I think of a turtle trying to make a sandwich, of a snake trying to play the violin, of an elephant knitting, of a penguin playing basketball, an eagle scuba diving, but mostly, I hope with every teeny bit of myself that Mr. Daniels is right about this. All right, guys, that was a very long chapter, probably the longest one so far. However, that was so adorable. I loved how that ended. That was really cute. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.